Hey friends, Ash here with Gents, and today I'm coming at you guys with 10 amazing, mind-blowing designer fragrances. I've actually wanted to do this video for a few weeks now and just now getting around to shooting it. And yeah, that's a cheesy title. Amazing, mind-blowing fragrances. What does that even really mean? These fragrances are ones that the first time I smelled them, I was really impressed. I was just like, yeah, that's a great fragrance. It's that type of scent, the first time you smell it, you know, I've got to own that. Or if you blind bought it, you go like, I won this time. We've got 10 different fragrances to talk about and one semi-honorable mention, and I'll touch on why it's an honorable mention when we get to it, but I've got a lot to talk about. Let's jump into this. All right, let's kick things off with a fragrance that I've talked about many times since its release last year. It is a personal favorite of mine, and it's this one, Armani Code Absolute yet again. Yeah, I've talked about this one a lot. It has tonka vanilla suede, nutmeg woods, orange, and orange blossom as some of the notes in the fragrance. And if you want to break this down in a really simple manner, if you take Armani Code Profumo, which is extremely popular, you refine it a little bit, smooth out the edges, make it not quite as aggressive, and for me, make it more versatile. You have Armani Code Absolute. So while it's not extremely unique in the sense that you can smell the Armani Code DNA all through this, the Code Profumo DNA, to me it's an improvement over Profumo. And the first time I smelled it, I was just like, that is a winner. One of those fragrances that immediately grabs your attention with the opening and stays fantastic all the way through the dry down. Armani Code Absolute Gold came out recently, which is a flanker to a flanker, so it's a flanker of this one. And initially I thought that one was going to be an improvement over Absolute. The first time I smelled it, I was like, this could be even better. But with further wear, I actually still prefer this one, although Absolute Gold is really solid too. Absolute going to be just an enormous compliment pulling fragrance in fall and wintertime. Great night out fragrance, but also easily worn during the day as well. It's got a really nice effervescent sweetness to it, but then it also has your more masculine base notes in there like suede and woods. Fantastic release. And from there, let's go to a Mugler fragrance in their Amen line, Pure Malt. This one, along with Pure Havana, are my two favorites in the Amen line. Malt, fruity notes, peat, and whiskey, some of the notes in this fragrance. So this one is going to be a very sweet, boozy type of scent. This one is great in fall and wintertime, and really most of these fragrances are going to be fall and wintertime fragrances. Those type of scents work better for me typically. They grab my attention more. Those richer, denser fragrances, I just like them more on the whole. So whereas Pure Havana is going to go a sweet tobacco route, this one goes the sweet boozy route. And those two fragrances, Pure Havana, Pure Malt, really kind of lock down fall and winter sweet time fragrances in the Amen line. As I said, this one is my second favorite. Pure Havana is my first favorite, but I've mentioned that one a lot here lately, so I wanted to feature Pure Malt. This one just absolutely blew me away the first time that I smelled it, and it is a limited edition release that is still actually readily available. So apparently it sold well enough that they said, even though it's supposed to be limited edition, let's just keep it rolling. After that, let's go to a Ralph Lauren fragrance, and this one is Purple Label. Yeah, Purple Label. This one smells very similar to Bond No. 9's Bleecker Street, and this did come out first. So Bond No. 9 may have looked at this and said, can we get something a little bit like that? This one has had rumors pop up for quite a while that it's discontinued. Seems like every year or two people are like, oh, Purple Label, yeah, it's discontinued, can't get it anymore. But then if you go to Ralph Lauren's website, it's still readily available. You just have to pay full retail. This one never really seems to pop up at discounters, ever. But if you want it, you can buy it. It's just, you have to pay full price. And I think a lot of people don't really want to do that. Blackberry, mahogany, sage, and coriander are some of the notes in this fragrance. This one is one that you can wear in springtime as well as fall. For me, like Bleecker Street, it's going to be best in spring, even though when you look at the bottle, you may think more of a cold weather type fragrance just with the dark coloration. The performance is not great. The atomizer sucks, but the fragrance, really good. And that one, just like Bleecker Street, blew me away the first time I smelled it. Just something about it, the blackberry, the sweetness in the opening just really grabs my attention. Then as it dries down, you've got these nice woods that come in. All right, from there, let's go to this one. A classic Dior Homme Intense. Iris, ambrette, lavender, pear, cedar, and vetiver. Some of the notes in this fragrance, and Dior Homme Intense is one that I just absolutely love the smell of. This is the type of fragrance that, frankly, I don't really care if the people around me like it or don't like it. I love it so much that I'll just wear it for myself, including sometimes in summer, even though probably should only wear this in fall and winter. Amazing performance, extremely sophisticated and gentlemanly smelling. The iris here going to be a little bit lipsticky, makeup-y. I'm sure you've heard that described a million ways, the Dior Homme iris note. It's very rich, it's sweet, it's clean, amazing smelling fragrance, fantastic performance. This one is a fragrance that just still to this day blows me away. When I smell it, it's just whew, amazing. And I know that they've come out with Dior Homme 2020, which is not great compared to the original. And then Dior Homme Intense 2020 is closer to the original Dior Homme Intense. If at all possible, if you don't own this, I would try to get a bottle that is not Dior Homme Intense 2020, but at least it hasn't been completely gutted the way Dior Homme 2020 has gutted what Dior Homme used to be. All right, from there, let's go to another Dior, Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Vanilla, violet leaf, rum, suede, and licorice. Some of the notes in this fragrance. The original Fahrenheit, probably most well known for the violet leaf in there, which causes it to have kind of a petrol or gasoline smell in the opening of the fragrance. Fahrenheit Le Parfum does have violet leaf, so you will get a little bit of that in here, a little bit of that gasoline petrol vibe in the opening, but this one also has that boozy rum and very sweet vanilla as well. Much smoother than the original Dior Fahrenheit. Some might even say like a more modernized version of the original Dior Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit is a line that I have loved for years and years. Some of the flankers have been okay, some have been really nice, like Fahrenheit Absolute, which is now discontinued, and this one, Fahrenheit Le Parfum, like Fahrenheit Absolute before it, is a flanker that the first time I smelled it, I said, oh yeah, they nailed it. Fantastic, fantastic release. From there, let's go to this one, Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. Yes, very low in the bottle. Cherry, almond, vanilla, leather, tonka, and incense. Some of the notes in the fragrance. I've talked about the L'Homme Ideal line many times on the channel. It's a line that I love. You can get it from discounters for a very good price. It's high quality. It's different than most of the other designer fragrances out there, and it just smells great, each one of them almost. There are a couple that I could kind of take or leave, like L'Homme Ideal Sport is okay, but for the most part, great line. Now, there's a little caveat with this, which I'm just gonna fly right through. This is a Guerlain fragrance. Some people do consider Guerlain a niche house, but for me, this one is gonna be more of a designer fragrance because of how available it is, how inexpensive it is, and the type of fragrance it is. So I'm lumping this in with designers here. Just a shout out to you guys out there that consider all Guerlain niche. So yeah, this has a really, really nice sweet cherry, a creamy almond, those two working together perfectly. A little bit of leather in here, gonna give it some extra depth, some extra richness, and then you have sweet vanilla as well. Little touch of incense, a little bit of smoke, but not too much. Amazing fragrance for fall and winter, like many of the others on this list, as I mentioned before. Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette is also a very solid fragrance. That's the first one that came out in this line, but between the two, if I could only have one, I'd rather have this one, the Eau de Parfum. From there, let's go to a fragrance that was released last year that blew me away first time I smelled it. Pulse of the Night by Issey Miyake. Technically, Nuit d'ici, Pulse of the Night. Incense, tonka, amber, vanilla, and leather. Some of the notes in this fragrance. Got a little bit of powder in here, not too much to me though. Cold weather, this one is a killer, both daytime and nighttime. I especially like to wear it when it's cold outside and the wind is whipping around. You really get that kind of incensey smoke popping off your skin with some resinous sweetness. Top notch. I've said this before when I've talked about this fragrance, I'll say it again, don't overpay for it. A lot of people will buy this up really quickly, kind of scalp it almost. They'll buy it when it pops up at discounters and then sell it on eBay for double what they paid. Don't pay that much. Look for this in the $50 range. I mean, if it's a little bit above that, a little bit below that, that's fine. But right in that $50 range. That is how much I paid. And I think it's a freaking awesome deal at that price. But if you pay $100, $120, something like that, you're gonna get diminishing returns at that point. I did a first impression on this fragrance. It's on the channel, so you can check that out if you want, but first time I smelled this, I really was almost taken aback. I didn't expect the quality that came out of this bottle. I was really surprised. I was expecting it to be middling or maybe forgettable, but then when it hit me, it was just like, wow, that is a great blend of incense, amber, vanilla, you know, just all these sweet, rich notes with a leather laying underneath it all. Just great. This next one is the one I mentioned at the beginning of the video as an honorable mention. The reason that this is an honorable mention and not one just in the list like normal is because of how difficult it can be to find at times for a decent price. So when I bring this one up, understand that originally this fragrance was going for $30-ish, but now a lot of people charge much more. And it's this one, Perry Ellis Oud Black Vanilla Absolute. It has vanilla, white tobacco, rum, and oud as some of the notes in this fragrance. Once upon a time, a few years ago, this was one of the best buys, period, that you could get for cheap fragrances. This one, like I said, was in the $30 range. Sometimes you could get it for less. It was at every discounter. And it smells basically like an inexpensive version of Guerlain Spiritueuse Double Vanille. Spiritueuse Double Vanille. My French. Yeah. So this fragrance would give you a very close feeling or vibe to that fragrance, only at a much cheaper price. The presentation is not too bad, and it's possibly the best fragrance or the most well-received fragrance that Perry Ellis had ever done. And yet, for some reason, Perry Ellis just does not seem to care. You can't really find this fragrance. It's kind of a pain. I've seen it pop up at discounters like Fragrance X for an inflated price here over the past few months. I think it popped up for like $70 when, like I said, it used to be 30 or below, and then it quickly sold out. And actually, I guess I should go back to the beginning with this fragrance. At first, it got hyped pretty heavily. People got their hands on it and they said, wait a second, this is something really good. And then it sold out. Once the fragrance community found out about it, sold out like that. And then slowly it made its way back into stock. For a good amount of time, you could find it everywhere. This was back when Notino existed, or Beauty Spin, before it was named Notino. So you had it there, you had it at Fragrance Net, had it at Fragrance X, had it everywhere. Then eventually supplies dwindled, it sold out, and then just none of them popped back up again. So I don't know if it's still being made, but the reason this isn't officially in this list is because of that, the jacked up prices and supply versus demand. But should this fragrance ever make its way, I guess, back into production or back onto discounter websites with regularity, this would once again become one of the best cheap buys, assuming it goes back down in price, out there, period. There are two others in this line, one based off saffron, one based off vetiver. This one, though, is the one that you want to own. All right, let's keep it rolling. Next up, Christian Dior Bois d'Argent. Yes, this one is one where some people could say, wait a second. But this is my list, and I'm making the rules here. So, obviously, this is from Christian Dior's private line, right? So, some people are going to consider this niche. And actually, I myself consider this niche. But my friend Manny at Cascade Scents considers this designer. And so this one is for him, including it on this designer list where I normally would not. Shout out Manny, Cascade Scents. Iris Myrrh Woods Vanilla Honey. Some of the notes in this fragrance, and this one just smells amazing. Iris Myrrh Woods Honey and Vanilla. Some of the notes in this fragrance. It is sweet, it's powdery, almost velvety even, the way that the sweetness comes across. Color of the fragrance does a pretty good job of kind of conveying how this one smells. Rich, honey-like sweetness. Resins in here as well. The iris is going to be giving you that powdery sensation. This one is one of my favorites in the entire line. It's right up there with Fève Délicieuse and Ombre Nuit for me, and Mitza as well, but that one is crazy expensive to get your hands on nowadays. This one is a bit unisex, so it's not one that you would reach for if you're wanting to go for a hyper masculine fragrance, but for me, smells amazing, especially in springtime. Like right now. Next up, a fragrance from Tom Ford. It is Tom Ford Noir Extreme. It's got vanilla, amber, cardamom, and coffee as some of the notes in the fragrance. Coffee being a pistachio-based frozen dessert. So this one is going to give you a bit of sweetness that smells much different than really anything else out there that I've ever smelled. That coffee note really sets this one apart. Now it does have a bit of a similarity to the female version of this fragrance, Pour Femme, again because of that coffee note, but that one to me is a hit. It just smells awesome, sets you apart. It's one that you can dress up with. It's one that you can dress down as well. It's one that you can rock to the office. It is, in typical Tom Ford noir fashion, different than anything else out there. So there is the possibility it could be divisive. Some people may actually not like the way that coffee comes across, but to me, really, really nice. And it's actually my favorite from the Tom Ford Noir line. That one, the first time I smelled it, it didn't need to grow on me. Just right away said, oh, yep. And that's going to bring us to the last one in this list, and this is one that I had forgotten about, really. It's one that, for whatever reason, I just had not reached for in a long time, and I was kind of thinking about doing this list. I was like, what would be a good fragrance to feature? And I was thinking back years ago. You know, what's a fragrance that I smelled 5-6 years ago, something like that, and just really blew me away, and it hit me. This one, Hommage à l'Homme by Lalique. Violet leaf, oud, saffron, and pepper, some of the notes in this fragrance. And this one, I love. It's not that expensive. It has a nice glass bottle. Again, Lalique, always classy, a little understated. It's got this fantastic sweetness to it that's not bubblegummy at all. It's got this bit of spiciness to it. It's got the violet in there, but it doesn't come across heavy-handed, doesn't come across unisex or anything like that from the florals. It just smells so good to me, so good. Now, I do have to tell you, it's not the type of fragrance that I think a lot of younger guys would go for. For me, this one is gonna be upper 20s and up, because I can't see too many younger guys smelling this and being like, oh yeah, I want to smell like that. But oof, middle age and up, this is a stunning fragrance. Yeah, it's just really, really, really good. Kind of like the Encre Noir line of fragrances. When you smell those, you may be like, wow, that is amazing quality in a 20 some odd dollar fragrance. You'll say the same thing with this. As far as bang for the buck goes, this is the best one in this list, period. This one right here, bang for the buck, best one. But again, if you're a really young guy or you go for that type of fragrance, typically your younger men's style fragrance, this one may not impress you as much, but otherwise, middle age and up, killer, stunning fragrance. Office safe, formal, casual wear, whatever, that can do it. And that's gonna wrap this video up. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Let me know which of these is your favorite, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.